So I put out the question to you guys on Instagram, what do you want to see in these videos? What tips do you want me to cover? One of the things that came back a couple of times was how to shoot better with just your phone. So let's get into that. So I've been racking my brains trying to put together some things for this, and I've come up with 9 things in total, 9 little stages that you need to think about when you're taking pictures with just your phone. Number 1, be intentional. Just because you've always got your phone with you, or it's always to hand, you can always just grab it out and shoot something really quickly. It's so easy to do. Doesn't mean you always should. And it doesn't mean that you can't plan it. So you're in a restaurant and the food arrives at your table, you grab out your phone, you take a couple of pictures and you stick it back in your pocket. They're not necessarily going to be the best pictures they can be. Take a bit of time, think about composing the shot, and think about these next tips as well. Number 2, don't just settle for the built-in app. There are plenty of other apps out there that will control your camera much better. You'll be able to dial in things like white balance. You'll be able to focus manually with them, which can be really handy. Number 3, finding your light. If you're shooting indoors, you want to be near a window or some source of natural light. You want soft, natural light on your pictures, because that's probably going to be the best way to get beautiful shots. You can do this if you're going into a restaurant. Just be a bit more mindful of it when you're going in. Ask for a seat near the window. It's not that hard to do. Places won't question you. If they can't seat you there, they won't seat you there. The worst you're going to get is a no. If you're outside, you're looking to shoot some portraits, say the weather is not like today and it's really, really bright, you're actually going to want to find some shade. That's going to give you softer light, ideally some shade that's got some light bouncing back into it. Number 4, so you've gone into that restaurant and they've said no to seating you next to the window, you've got no light to work with. Or you're at the restaurant, you're there in the evening, even sitting near the window is not going to do anything then. What do you do? Well, I'm going to throw this tip over to my friend Joni. She runs a YouTube channel called The Bite Shot. She just did some great stuff on taking light into a restaurant. I'll link that here and I'll link that below. Tip number 5, think about the background. Because with a camera phone, you don't have that aperture that's going to give you a nice shallow depth of field. So you're not going to be able to blur out that background, which means that a messy background is still always just going to look like a messy background. So what you want to do is you want to find a way to move stuff out of that background, just clean it up. If you're in a restaurant and you're taking pictures of the food and there's cutlery in the way and there's like the sauces they've brought out, just move them aside, move them out of shot. Only have in shot the things that are going to make for that perfect image. Number 6, think about the foreground. As I said, your phone probably doesn't have a lens that will give you shallow depth of field. But if you bring something really, really close to the camera and focus on a subject that's a bit further away, that will actually blur out that foreground just a little bit and it'll add interest. I covered that in a video from a couple of days ago. Check that one out. Number 7, angles. This is another one that I covered last week in my video on food photography, and angles are really important. Go watch that video, you'll get it in more depth. Number 8, editing. You don't just want to use that picture straight away, and even worse, you don't want to just add on a basic bitch Instagram filter. There are so many apps for your phone that will let you control how your image looks. Things like Lightroom will give you really precise control over things like exposure, white balance. You'll get controls on like saturation and contrast. These are all things that you play about with to get the perfect image. That image that comes straight out of the camera app, that's not going to be great. I actually did a video about a year ago that I went through my editing process in quite a bit of depth. I'll link that down below. And then there are so many other apps that do things like add in artifacting that just isn't going to show up in a phone's camera. Things like lens distortion, which I'll again link it down below. There's going to be a lot of links down there. This one will add things like lens flares. It'll add sort of, you can add in rain and stuff like that. I'd say keep the editing with that to a minimum, but just add in a little flare where it looks like there's light coming in from the edge of the image. That's going to improve that image, because the flaring that you get on a camera phone is just not going to be that great. Number 9, shoot a lot, share, and get feedback. Put those pictures that you take out there for other people to see. Take the critique, take the criticism, think about that when you're going out and shooting again. And speaking of sharing images, follow me over on Instagram. I try to share every day, try to, and check out these videos right here. I'll see you next time.